Happy New Year, my friends, community members, fans, viewers worldwide. Welcome to 2021. And what a year it has been, the year that's just gone by, the year of 2020. It's been giving us a lot of turmoil, a lot of uncertainty, and we've all lived through it in circumstances that we would have never previously imagined. Today is the time to look back, to review literally everything that we have been doing during the year. That includes also our video gaming activity here online, but equally we'll be looking at all the other activities that are to follow, and that is going to be all that will take place here on my channel and elsewhere, all that is related to video gaming. So first of all, hope you had a wonderful, quiet, peaceful, and most importantly very healthy celebrations of Christmas and New Year. You would have seen that I have given everyone my best wishes, and we've had our Merry Christmas podcast that indeed was blending in perfectly with Destiny 2 the Dawning season, just to literally polish it off for the year. And as always, I take lengthy breaks during this period, so therefore we've had no activities here on the channel. As you know, it's very important to recharge one's own batteries, to basically review everything you've done, to consider what you'll be doing next, and how altogether the project is to be unraveling in the future. It has been a very, very rewarding project for myself. As you know, all of you who were watching my broadcasts over the last 2.5-3 years, indeed you would have seen a lot of activity here right from the beginning, and you would have seen a very, very wonderful community arising literally almost from day one, attached to first of all Destiny universe and then some other games too. As you've seen recently, we had a new community of Warzone emerging, and we absolutely loved it. It was very, very interactive and indeed very, very connecting with everyone worldwide. So first of all, I want to thank everyone, all of my friends, fans, viewers, followers, and people who are coming here on a regular basis. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have made my online activity and my online experience a truly wonderful one. I have to say, especially during these very testing times in the course of this year, where everyone was in full isolation, I had made probably more friends than ever before, and online that is, and I have very thoroughly enjoyed all of our activities. It was wonderful to see that video gaming had provided all of us with a new opportunity through which we are all going to be fully connected at times when in fact people have got to be living in isolation, very far away from everyone, in order to protect our own health and well-being, as you know. So that itself has been a very challenging but at the same time very, very rewarding experience, and I'm certainly hoping that many of you who were here with us for the broadcasts indeed had exactly the same sort of rewarding type of activity online, connecting with other console and PC gamers and indeed building your own communities. We experienced video gaming as the means through which we can connect to others with such ease and establish new friendships, as well as all of our new connections. And first of all, it made me absolutely hectic and very, very busy with those new communities. I had never felt during the last 9 months, 10 months I should say, alone, solitary, and I made lots of new connections with everybody who was willing to participate here, jump in with some of our online activity as well as everything else. And that itself indeed has been also remarked on through various podcasts online. We have seen and heard from people who run Xbox and PlayStation and PC communities that they've experienced really quite an exponential rise. as mentioned, we had spotted an exponential rise of those communities online during the entire year, and in fact I listened to Phil Spencer and Major Nelson last night in the podcast which was broadcast on YouTube, and they both indicated that the actual isolation that many people are experiencing worldwide, self-isolation as well as the need to be distanced from others, had brought and accelerated, in fact, the expansion of the video game industry, perhaps by 2 or 3 years. And they all indicated that video game industry already was, rising in terms of the overall number of participants and community members. But certainly, in the course of this year, the number of those who were coming in has steadily grown, and we've seen with many other online games that the participation just simply began to reach the stellar heights, as expected. And as we know, more than 2.5 billion people engage in video gaming every single day, and certainly with the launch of those 2 new consoles, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, we are certainly entering a completely new era, which is coupled also with instant access on any platform, crossplay, as well as xCloud facilities. So really a very, very exciting period ahead. So just to summarize, I really found this year to be, on one hand, very, very testing and very difficult, because I personally had to spend most of my time, probably about 20 to 22 hours a day, literally within a confined area, basically indoors. And I did take lengthy breaks and lengthy walks at night in order to stretch and to maintain my physical fitness and health. But being indoors for so long has never been something that I would have enjoyed at any other stage of my life, and I'm sure that together with everyone else here in Britain, we all find that very, very difficult in the long run. I think if you're doing it for 4 to 6 weeks, it is bearable and manageable, but once it stretches to the full year, well, that is where really things kind of grind to halt for many people. And sadly, in my local area, yesterday when I walked around the town, I realized that 24 shops closed during the last week, and they're obviously waiting for the end of year period in order to either liquidate or indeed proclaim insolvency. So 24 businesses and livelihoods were lost, and these are the shops that have been here for quite a long while, certainly since I moved to my local area 4.5 years ago. And it is just literally devastating. My heart sinks when I see this, and certainly I get very, very upset and concerned for the future of people who had lost their livelihoods due to this dreadful pandemic. On the other hand, with video gaming industry and the overall online communications, we had seen an rise. Many more people were joining forces with the gamers. Many people talked through the use of various platforms that included WhatsApp and Zoom. And I think overall feeling was that the working community worldwide will have to reorganize itself completely in view of what's happened, as more than 3/4 of the global workforce were actually working from home, which in fact has been made possible due to the application of the latest technology. And many people who otherwise would have been working as accountants or administrators in various statutory or any other private company offices realized that this was made possible, and indeed their productivity was seen as being on the rise. And I think it is going to have very, very significant after effects really on the overall way that we organize our kind of working environment. So I really kind of look forward to further thoughts arising from the entities that are indeed responsible for the way we organize our workplaces, and certainly hoping that something very good and positive eventually will emerge. I certainly could say for myself, I had worked both from the commercial premises as well as from home, and as somebody who always treasured his own private time and the way my overall daily effort was really invested, I always looked at that degree of cost effectiveness, meaning spending as little time as possible through commuting and being able to retain as much focus as possible every single day. So that indeed for me has been accelerated and definitely enhanced, and I certainly look forward to all that is to follow. And I certainly hope that all the other people who are organizing various workplaces worldwide will keep this in mind to certainly look at productivity and all the other benefits of being able to basically organize the time properly, so you have no major collateral in terms of first of all spending a lot of time on traveling, and then secondly making sure that when you are actually doing something, your what we call operating in the zone is massively enhanced. Coming back to this year, who on earth would expect, as we celebrated last Christmas, that we'll have to be spending the next one so far away from the loved ones, from our families, from everyone else who is otherwise always together at this very, very hour? Nobody. Obviously, we were hoping for a very prosperous, very happy and successful new year. Sadly, this year had brought a huge amount of sorrow to so many people worldwide, particularly through the pandemic. But don't forget, in some other countries, people also sustained serious damage on the top of this, with natural disasters such as flooding, and most recently in Croatia with massive earthquakes. Can you imagine? Firstly, at the beginning of the year, you have massive flooding where people lose their homes. Secondly, you have a pandemic which is spreading uncontrollably and killing so many people. And on the top of that, you have a devastating 6.4 degrees on Richter scale earthquake, which absolutely ravages and destroys the livelihoods, towns and villages in one part of the country. Well, that is just simply the worst possible. It is apocalyptic and biblical, and my heart sings when I see that sort of thing taking place, and certainly I absolutely wish all the very best to people who have been greatly affected in the Republic of Croatia. And if you are in possession of some extra capital, if you can donate charitably, just make sure that you provide some funds for those who had been absolutely destroyed by this unbelievably strong earthquake, one of the strongest, one of the biggest that Central Europe has seen in centuries. And all of that happening on the top of this dreadful coronavirus pandemic, and just before the new year. Absolutely and truly heartbreaking. Honestly, I can't think of anything worse. And thankfully, not many people died during this unbelievably dreadful earthquake, but many properties and dwellings have been completely destroyed, and like for instance the local town mayor, many people described the places that were affected as Hiroshima, so you can well imagine the degree of devastation that all the buildings had suffered, which is truly, truly devastating for everyone to see. So a very difficult year in every respect, but as I said, we are needing to adapt, we need to be flexible, we need to be considering what are the ways we can apply in order to make our lives better, in order to make the world a better place to be. And that is something that I'm always concerned about. It's always my primary area of activity. I'm always thinking on the lines of what next can I do in order to enhance other people's lives? What is that I can produce that will make some other people's activities and work better? What will bring a change to somebody's life which is otherwise badly affected with certain difficulties, be it emotional, psychological, financial, or any other? And I think certainly that when we face a moment of crisis, where we have a situation where everybody is affected by the same thing, such as COVID-19, the dreadful virus, the pandemic, I should say coronavirus, which is causing this dreadful infection called COVID-19, then obviously we all realize we are all in the same boat. We are all defenseless, we are not protected, and we need to first of all get our heads together to find the best possible way to survive it, and then secondly we need to find alternative and certainly the new ways through which we are going to be operating, working, socializing and doing everything after this dreadful pandemic ends. And I think certainly one of the good ways is making a greater connectivity online overall, be it through the ways of working, through social networking forums, or indeed through this video gaming industry activities. What video gaming provides is a fantastic way through which people who share the same interest can on one hand relax and forget about the world's ills, On the other hand, they can instantly connect with others who are indeed sharing exactly the same affinity. And that has been truly remarkable. I think this is the area which perhaps is still overlooked in media and elsewhere, where people are not fully aware of the significance of this particular innovation and discovery. And I have to say, through my experience of the last 3 years, and if I, for instance, compare that to the previous experiences of multiplayer, which I would have had 15-20 years ago, well, the difference is very significant. Multiplayers that we've done with Counter-Strike and Diablo and all the other popular games of that era really confined to very, very small communities. The communities were built through news groups and various other postings either online or in real life, where people kind of get together and share the same passion for a particular game. With the invention of Twitch, we had been given the opportunity to stream, first of all, which was not possible in the past. And I think the YouTube and Twitch portals combined are giving us this wonderful opportunity to share, first of all, our creative stimuli, the capacity for us to be just like anybody else who works in creative industries, either on TV or in medias. We can be our own director, our own boss, our own broadcaster. We can do everything we want, really, depending on our own abilities and intentions. And that indeed had opened up a huge possibility for so many people worldwide to present their creative skills to the world. So if you look back, you will be able to see that the best Twitch channels that really attract very many viewers are also properly and fully integrated within the area or the field of social networking. So all of them will have quite a lot of activity that reflects what they do online, through Twitter, through Instagram in particular, Facebook, and then obviously on YouTube, maybe on Reddit, and most importantly on Discord. Discord is the favorite tool for many gamers to connect with others, to build their communities there, share both public and private information based on their online gaming activity. And that is a true fantastic way forward for anyone who feels creative, who wants to be sharing some of their own interest with the world. It doesn't have to be very lengthy. People do not need to be streaming for 5-6 hours a day like some of the professional streamers. Can spare maybe two hours a day, but make them very, very busy and very connecting to everybody else who's interested, particularly if you're streaming some of those most popular games like Warzone, for instance, the most popular PvP of today. You can have a hectic period of 2 hours where everybody is enjoying everything that you do, and in addition to that, you always then get new friends and viewers popping in and becoming new members of your communities. It's a very, very good way of building those new connections. And as we know, we all are fairly competitive as humans. We all want to be excelling in certain disciplines, and if you are entering that arena, you'll have quite a mixture of people who watch it just for their own personal benefit, together with others who are indeed enjoying all the activities because they want to be getting better, perhaps reaching the level of a professional performer, professional esports gamer. So quite a mixture of people popping out at all times. But as you could see, the new invention of streaming on Twitch and YouTube had given us this opportunity, and I think this opportunity really needs to be embraced. I do come across channels that are really fantastic. People are building their own world on their own channel with their own communities, and it's all down to the effectiveness of those who communicate. We created a regiment which is called it's funny, isn't it? Because we tend to forget certain things at some time, and just right now, when I was thinking of the abbreviation for our regiment, I think nobody can guess what it actually means, but in brief it means teamwork, buybacks and comms. Just think about it. Teamwork, buybacks and comms. It is a regiment within the world of Warzone. So what this means is we want maximum team effort. Everybody being buddy-buddy, relying on the person next to you, together with communications and buybacks, which means you are getting enough currency within the game to bring people who unfortunately have been eliminated, to bring them back at any moment in time up to the last minute in order to make your team survive. All of that is done through live audio comms. We all have got to be talking, communicating, discussing and strategizing in order to in order to get to that very, very final point, which is, eventually a victory. But most of the times we get that to the last 5 or 10 teams if we are playing with our permanent squad. So that tells you that being engaged with video gaming is giving this opportunity to connect to others, and others who watch will learn from some of our tips and tricks and some of our strategies they view online. On the other hand, they'll just enjoy our comments, our overall interactivity, fun, jokes, puns, and everything else that is being said as we talk about lots of different things, sometimes not particularly well related to the world of video gaming. So that's the bottom line. That really is what video games are about, and that's what makes it so different compared to the multiplayer of the earlier years. We have seen here on my channel several communities arising. I'll actually single out 3. The first one, the biggest one, is attached to Destiny. Destiny is a game that's been created in the early part of the last decade for that purpose alone. A game which doesn't have any in-game tutorial. It's not being told in a linear fashion, so it's a bit difficult to follow the story. And a game where people have got to be asking each other, what next? What do we do? How do we learn? What is the way through which I'm going to be getting a pinnacle weapon, or how am I going to be completing a particularly difficult, arduous task? So all of these things were intended to be learned from other participants, and I have to say Destiny 1 and today Destiny 2 as well, and it's no longer Destiny 2, it's more like a Destiny universe, to the way the game is presently evolving. These are the games that probably are amongst the very best ever created for people to connect, and that's the sole reason as to why I've chosen Destiny right from the beginning to be the main game here on my channel. We've had very many streams, and I have to say Destiny 1 streams still remain the most busy, the most active, and the most popular compared to everything else I've done, which includes also the sequel. And during the last couple of years the sequel had exponentially grown, because on its release it was very frostily received, but we've seen with firstly the year 2 seasons, which made it extremely busy, the year 3 with lots of add-ons and new directions taken, and now approaching and progressing through the year 4, where we are having a major integration of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 happening within one big universe. Really is a game that is a true delight for anyone who wants to make new friends. The most important thing about Destiny that will happen early this year is its cross-platform integration. At that point, Destiny is going to be by far the biggest game that the video gaming industry has ever seen, because I had played with gamers on various platforms. They included Xbox, PlayStation and PC, and people have been complaining that it was not possible to team up with the best mates they had, who are, for whatever reason, presently doing it on a different platform. So we've had, first of all, cross-save integration, which took place about 14 months ago, I believe, as far as I remember. And then we heard about a possibility for cross-platform to be taking place. Although I have to say, I think Sony and Microsoft were a bit territorial initially on this front, and they were not that keen. As you could see, still Destiny 1 is not available on PCs, just on consoles. And I think with cross-platform access we will make it accessible to everyone everywhere, hence the sequel's inclusion in the Game Pass library of wonderful things on offer, and also its xCloud access, which means you can presently access Destiny 2 on your mobile phone or tablet if you are also connecting it to your Bluetooth connectable controller, and that's wonderful. That's just the first step, but I'm really waiting for that full cross-platform integration, because you've seen really with Warzone what delights and what benefits this brings. We have communities that really grow rapidly, and with new people coming in and providing us with all the niceties, it's just in no time that suddenly you have a whole new lot of friends. And like in any other activity, if you're a fan of cinema or music, if you were in the old days queuing up to get tickets before getting to venues, you'll remember when you get people together, within one night you make like 15-20 friends whom you just met in there, people who are queuing up, waiting to see a particular artist. And the queue was lengthy in those days. There were no online bookings. You had to be there early in order to get a ticket, so people talked quite a bit, and people kind of holding a queue for somebody else, and it was a major social activity. I made so many friends then. The trouble was I didn't live in the town centre, so it was a bit difficult to keep up with them all. But you know what? People stayed on the scene, and you met them again, and the communities just carried on. And I had the privilege of being able to see the communities, through literally 3 different decades, and I was seeing how these communities would be growing, and what really appeared to be very important in every one of those decades, if you were to be still, remaining in touch and talking about the things that you like doing and everything else. What actually, all the things that really make these communities fully bonded. And it's very interesting how everything accelerated. The importance of finding somebody who is sharing exactly the same passion for your activity had remained the most important foundation stone of it all. You will have people who are a bit flimsy about certain things, people who jump on certain trends, but those people who share their passion with others, if they're doing it face to face, online, through nowadays obviously video game, the live streams, they really will attract that degree of interest, and they will always remain your very best friends, indeed, if you met them in any of those circumstances. So as I described, we have quite a large number of community members attached to Destiny, and Destiny does provide this opportunity through a multitude of activities, many quests, and many other things that we all can do if we join that wonderful universe. I have to say, Destiny 2 has been even more beautifulized in recent months, as they provided us with a major kind of 4K stroke 8K recalibration, and if you are in possession of the latest consoles, I'm sure you'll be able to see the difference. The quality of those images is absolutely mouth-watering. They still have to work a bit on the frame rate, because I thought that for the older consoles the frame rate was dropping due to this, but nevertheless, we are entering this new era, and I really look forward to the days of Destiny being fully integrated on all platforms, so we can bring in all of our friends from PCs as well as PlayStation and Xbox to one big universe, and therefore our activities are going to be back to very busy as they always were. We had loads of fun doing strikes and Crucible and many of the story missions. We worked on pinnacle weapons. For myself, it was absolutely unimportant what the activity actually was. In fact, I really do not like the Crucible in Destiny 1, and there are many reasons as to why that is. Firstly, and most importantly, I'm not really a person who is very dedicated to excited about death matches, and I prefer tactical gameplay in PvP, where you got to be using your mind in order to find out what to do, rather than just jump around and fire up the action and base everything on adrenaline and speed. It's just my own personal preference, but I had a lot of fun, because frequently we would establish our own teams, and then we would make a private match and then play against each other. So getting eliminated by somebody who knows so well through your online gaming activity was absolutely hilarious and truly humbling. On the other hand, it was equally interesting when somebody expected someone else to be eliminated, but actually they got hit themselves, and just literally the best possible fun you can have. So coming back to Destiny, we are really looking forward to that full cross-platform integration, and coming back to my earlier point, that's the reason as to why I've chosen Destiny right from the beginning for the integration here with my channel. And I really thought that the game that was providing that wonderful opportunity out there for people to connect will have the greatest possible reflection here on the live broadcast. And I was absolutely right, because I think only one other game, and that's Elder Scrolls Online, will have the exactly same capacity when it comes to the very large community membership, people who are willing to step in at any moment in time. Warzone is very close to it, but don't forget, it doesn't provide you with a multitude of activities. It's quite regular. It's a battle royale game, and therefore it will be based on a specific type of game that people kind of enjoy doing things reasonably fast, collecting the loot, like a looter and shooter, as well as the survival game all in one. and therefore I think the community is to a degree less diverse. So what better way to run the channel but by combining those two games together? And I was very, very happy to see that within 1 year Warzone had absolutely massively exponentially risen. It's been very well developed with a massive big map, and it became really one of the very best games, PvP games ever created. So you have obviously this degree of option given. You can either join in a tactical military shooter or military simulation, you could say, where you'll meet people who are sharing the same sort of interest and basically are geared up towards the similar sort of activity. Or you can go to Destiny, where everything will be based on exploration of that wonderful big universe and the connectivity you will have with many other participants. So these two games have been the main games here on my channel throughout the year of 2020, and I think it didn't really happen by coincidence. I really had explored and investigated during the last year the way this channel was run, and I was looking for the best possible niche in which, on one hand, I would be able to provide high quality content through my community participation to everyone. On the other hand, also to keep myself a bit busy occupied, because you will know from my broadcast, I'm a variety gamer, and I don't like playing just like one game at all times, like some people. I mean, I've come across people who play Destiny for 6 or 7 years. They play nothing else. They literally dedicated their life to the exploration of that wonderful big universe. It's possible in the games like Destiny, Elder Scrolls, and Red Dead Redemption. I think Cyberpunk will be there as well. I've not tried the game yet, so I shouldn't really quote me on this. But these are the games with massive big open world. This is the open world that embraces all types of activities and is inviting people of all sorts to come in and basically find out for themselves what that world is about, and what else they can find, what else they can discover, what they can complete if they carry on with certain story-based missions and quests, and everything else. Because don't forget, it's a combination of two major things: your hard work, where you need to be putting two and two together to find out what actually needs to be done. So it's not just looting and shooting and destroying everyone else like in some of the death matches. And then it's all about other people. You connect with others, you are sharing your thoughts, emotions and views about the activity, and most importantly, you're completing tasks, because there are tasks in Destiny that will be applied to a certain level of expertise. And I remember doing Destiny 1 for the first time. It was very difficult initially to be completing certain challenges because I was grossly underleveled. When you realize later, after I had my 3 characters fully maxed out, that it was all down to the power level. But if you're doing it for the first time, it is challenging, and therefore it is well advised for you to ask somebody else to help you who's already been there for a little while, somebody who has been an expert in that sort of activity, and somebody who knows what to do. And I remember always our friend from the US, Matthias, who had the very best weapons, introduced me to some of the pinnacle weapons, which in fact I didn't fancy grinding. I mean, I'm quite warm on grinds, but overall I'm not really like a big fan of lengthy, indefinite grinds. And he said, well, you really need to be getting Dark Drinker, the best sword in the game. You need to be looking at several other pinnacle weapons, because they will be giving you Sleeper Simulant. I just nearly forgot what it was called. Sleeper Simulant is a wonderful fusion rifle that you get in there after very lengthy and complicated grind. And these activities are still legendary amongst the veterans, because they spend weeks or even months sometimes grinding certain tasks to get there. And it's all about that community spirit, being able to get that guidance, to get that support, and then remember later how you've done it. And for anyone who's a Destiny veteran, you'll be familiar with the concept of Destiny raids, and raids were really introduced by Bungie as the most difficult part of the in-game activity. That requires a team of 6, and preferably a team of people who know each other really well, people who play together the game quite a few times, and then you'll work your way against the biggest, the most difficult enemies, hostiles or monsters, call them as you like, in that arena, and then you'll get the very best rewards once you fully complete it. They're very difficult to complete, and don't forget the AI enemies could be very deadly if properly nerfed and tweaked. So that is the activity that many people still treasure today. And in fact, if you look at what's being played and watched the most in Destiny 1 today, which is 7 years later, well, you'll be able to see indeed it is all down to the raids. Coming back to the channel, I stream other games in here in addition to the ones I described, notably Destiny and Warzone, and another game that popped up, if I'm not mistaken, in the course of the last year. It was in February of 2019. You see, I made an error. It's 2 years ago already. It's not like last year, it's a year before last. It was indeed Apex Legends, and came out of nowhere after that very unsuccessful launch of Anthem, and it came also from Respawn and publisher EA, Electronic Arts, and it was literally taken the world by storm. It was incredible how popular the game was, and I've got to say the initial maps and activities were some of the very best I had ever experienced. I'm not that keen on death matches, but you know, the map in there was not really a death match. It was fairly big, but the activity of some of the guys walking around in trios was very similar to what you'd experience in a very, very tight, closely confined World of Tanks or, you know, Crucible type of environment. And I loved it, and I had lots of new friends, and we've had a big community built at the time. I have not continued playing Apex because I tell you, the reason is probably the way the bright colors affect my brain. And I had some messages coming saying, where are you? Where have you gone? And why are you not playing Apex anymore? I prefer playing, how about it? If I do PvP with lots of green, yellows, bright blues and reds, I really feel a bit oozy, a bit sort of dizzy afterwards on a lengthier stretch, and you'll appreciate that. It is all about PvP matches. You need to be playing them in order to get the best scores. So taking lengthy breaks whilst you are doing your broadcast is very unpopular amongst people who are you know, dedicated PvP veterans, and I've got to do that. So I thought, well, that's one of the reasons why perhaps not a good idea to be doing it for too long. And we've had very, very successful broadcasts, and Apex will be featuring here on the channel from time to time, particularly when you have a launch of the new season, and similar to what we had with PUBG. PUBG community is also very, very busy and very active. I've got to say, I played it during this Christmas break a couple of times, and I've tried duos and solos and trios and everything on offer, but it really has some serious technical problems. It really doesn't perform too well on Xbox. It has a massive frame rate drop. It feels like really choppy, and it's not down to the internet connection. It's just the way that the game's just not really having any major maintenance done. I think it performs the best still on PCs, and when I watch other people's streams I can tell obviously this major difference. But if you are on consoles, then you need to consider how well it performs, because it does have a significant lag. It's an elimination survival game where in fact you need to be either on the fastest internet speed or, you know, the best possible gear in order to survive, and therefore it became quite tricky. Also very, very rigged by bots and many other cheaters who are using the PCs in order to rig the arena. It also went cross-platform, which means if you're entering the cross-platform arena, you will have many of those who will be making your life very, very miserable. And so there are many, many issues in there. Still, I think when you combine Apex, PUBG and Warzone together, you have quite a nice selection of wonderful PvP games that will be suited to anyone's taste. You know, people who like sci-fi, they'll resort to Apex. There's some very, very good touches in there. Also, what I like about Apex is its overall puns. It's like so funny, and you're working really hard to the seasonal content, and you're getting all these add-ons which kind of complement both your design, your appearance, as well as your interactivity, and I really truly love that. I think it's wonderful and most remarkable, and I certainly hope and wish all the very best to Respawn and the development team. They produced this game which is remarkable, highly entertaining, greatly sociable, and in addition to that, they've given it to us free of charge. So when I hear people complaining about the cosmetics and they need to pay for the packs and that, I mean, those people need to be paid for. You know, they've spent several years producing this wonderful PvP game, and they've given it to us all for free. And you do not need to buy anything in there. You can actually get the vast majority of those things in-game currency, depending on what number of hours you want to spend on the game. So absolutely wonderful. Coming back to it, so these 3 games will be popping up here from time to time, and they certainly will be very, very prominent. Another 2 games that I've played here on my channel quite extensively during the last couple of years, and also in the course of last year, were the Division 1 and 2. And as you know, the sequel is a much enhanced version of the original, and it's very, very popular, and I certainly will be having it here on my channel as well. We had quite a good community of participants who were popping in to see the Division activity. I've not been in contact with some of them, but you know, anytime I go online and they'll come in straight away. Everyone has notifications nowadays, so you know exactly what's happening where, and you can always come in if you wish and crack on with some wonderful activity as you connect with your old friends. So that's the benefit of it all, you know. I'm trying to think of other games. I did stream Red Dead Redemption 2, which I thought was absolutely terrific, and we hopefully are going to be having it back in the future as well. We've had a wonderful RPG stroke survival game called A Plague Tale that is accessible on all platforms. Absolutely amazing and beautifully created, wonderful graphics, very immersive storytelling, very difficult parts, particularly the ending, which I thought, well, in my personal view, almost ruined the game. It's very, very difficult to, almost impossible to eliminate the evil priest, who is the big bad wolf there in A Plague Tale, and particularly difficult on consoles because of that precision kind of strikes that will be required in order to eliminate him successfully. Lots of people complained about that, really. People who played it on Xbox and on PlayStation. I think perhaps easier to a degree for everyone on PC because of the precision. The precision there is required if you're familiar with the game, both with the elimination, the way you're going to be throwing the stone directly at the priest, as the location of the main character, because they're being chased by a very large quantity of deadly rats. And that's where the trick is, you know, with incorrect positioning, you lack precision with your controller compared to the usual on with your mouse. You are then getting into serious difficulty and you get eliminated, and you keep replaying it from the beginning. So although the game doesn't give you the overall need to be replaying certain sections like in the old survival games, right at the end it's exactly like that, so it's very, very infuriating, I have to say. But I love the game. I think look forward to any other works coming from the same developer, and thoroughly enjoyed the activity, hence the ending. The ending I didn't like, and I've got to say that if they do like a remastered version, they really need to rework this in view of all the complaints they received. Alright, so let me think what else we stream. So that's really the majority. We've gone back to the golden oldies like Oblivion. We've gone back to Mass Effect, my favorite space opera trilogy of all times, and we are going to be featuring some of these games in the future as well, depending on interest. But you know, if there's one thing that Major Nelson and Phil Spencer agreed on yesterday on their broadcast, when it wasn't actually delivered yesterday, I watched it yesterday, it was just before the new year, they agreed with a new difficulty that's arising, and that's the sheer number of wonderful games that are being produced. As technology gets cheaper and many more people get involved, you get the development teams of, let's say, 2 or 3 people making a game which turns out to be a worldwide sensation. The best example of that is a game called Among Us. And this game had won all awards, and it's one of the most popular multiplayers online at present. It did take about 3 years for that to take off, and it kind of really took off as they made it cross-platform, I think, at some point this year. But we did see all the rewards they managed to get at the major annual ceremony organised by Jeff Keighley, and I'm really truly in awe of the guys who were able to produce, you know, such wonderful video game on so little, with obviously maximum effort. And I guess what Phil Spencer and Major Nelson were remarking on was that there's so many different titles you need to check out, and it's becoming quite difficult for them to keep tabs on all that is coming in, and it's equally exciting and interesting. And I really want to add to that something else they have not mentioned, and that's the quality of their streaming services. Most importantly, Xbox Game Pass, which is the best video gaming streaming service on the planet. And then in addition to that, you have also PlayStation Now services that offer up to about 700 games, many of them proprietary, and to PlayStation, and some of their own exclusives include games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Detroit Becoming Human, and games like the Uncharted, and all the other, God of War, for instance, The Last of Us. I nearly forgot, one of the most wonderful releases, really. Both the original and the sequel. So you have this opportunity. You can really pop in, have a look, and explore these games. You can then decide on which ones you want to play. Watched Jeff Rubinstein yesterday together with Mitch Nelson, also discussing their favorites of this year, and they both said, well, the difficulty is because we've got to be checking out so many different titles. It's becoming difficult because you do want to have that degree of continuity when you enter a game. On the other hand, the games are no longer like 5 or 6 hours long. You have games that will require 150, 250, 300 hours in order to complete. And that is both, it's a double-edged sword, really. And I certainly can say for myself, never ever had I played many more games than during the last couple of years, since I've been using the streaming services and obviously built this entity here on Twitch. But it does become a problem if you are to be consecutively following or playing like 2 or 3 games at the same time, because you lose that continuity. And the big games like Fallout 76 and Red Dead, Destiny, all these games, they're all about the immersive quality of that environment. They invested huge amount of money, time and effort, human resources, in order to produce that environment, which is basically there to be soaked up on every single day. And you always discover something you've not seen before. And to be fair, like in Destiny, they've been adding lots of items. So when you I do apologize, my friends, for this slight accident which I suffered in here. It does happen to me because on Xbox I have a different sort of setup, which is quite different to what I have on a PlayStation. I think one of the first tasks of the new year is to eradicate the difficulties that have been caused by this setup. And I was just telling you about this wonderful immersive world that the companies like Bungie and Bethesda have produced, and the difficulty that we have if we are combining, let's say, the exploration of No Man's Land together with Fallout 76, Red Dead and Destiny. We will get lost in that wonderful immersive world. It appears to be somewhat overwhelming, and we lose thread with the story of a particular game. So really my kind of tip, and the way I've been doing it, or try to do it, is by doing just like one major open world game at a time when you're having your first run, when you go through all the missions and everything else. And then you can add maybe smaller, quirkier indie games which you can explore. Like, for instance, I loved one of my favorite games of this year was Night Call, and it's a fantastic indie French game based in Paris, where the taxi driver gets caught up in all kinds of criminal activities, and you have investigations which you need to conduct. You talk to the punters who keep using his taxi cab service, and you learn everything, not just about the game, but all about the Paris and France of today. It's just incredible. But it's a quirky old game, very simple graphics that resemble a graphic novel. You don't have any major activities. It's all based on, point and click, and you need to be looking at the dialogue and interactivity amongst various characters. So all of that is absolutely, truly humbling and top-notch, really, quality, top-notch in every way. And when you combine that with Fallout, it will give you respite, right? But if you try to cram in 6 or 7 games, it will be very, very difficult. It actually will not work. And I think this is the difficulty that Phil Spencer and Major Nelson were describing. And I kind of agree with them, because I feel that trying out too many things at once will make you completely oversaturated. You lose focus. So therefore it's perhaps more important to invest a bit more time, more methodically, with some planning. Pull out your notepad, plan what you want to be doing, what you want to be watching at what time, and therefore you will be better organized. But similar to what we had in 1930s Hollywood, if you have all the major studios coming up with an idea that every studio will produce a certain type of genre with a certain quantity of films coming out every single year, then you'll have plenty of things on offer. They will mutually not compete formulated wrongly. They will be competing purely in terms of the quality, because you will not expect Warner Brothers to be making musicals or MGM to be making gangster films, because you will know that gangster belongs to Warner and musical belongs to MGM, and they'll still be looking for the highest turnover, the best revenue. But what will be on offer is quite a competitive, quite a diverse selection of feature films that everybody will want to enjoy. So similar to those days where you couldn't catch up with everything that's been released, we have the same problem emerging today. The only difference today is that we are not dependent on our game being screened in a cinema, and therefore if we miss it, we'll never see it again, or maybe we'll see it in 15 or 20 years. Today we have streaming services making it possible for us and for everyone else to basically engage at any moment in time. And I talked on my broadcast several times about PS Now services with 700 plus games, and I think I've gone from A to about D or E the last 18 months, because you come across a game that is kind of very interesting and you play it a bit more, and then suddenly there's more time and I want to do my streams, and the streams will take up a lot of my time. And actually the streaming on Twitch will be affecting a gamer in that fashion, because you will be restricted to your game or your stream or your planning, and you will not be able to invest more time in exploring all the other games. So therefore I deliver my streams within a so-called seasonal format, which means I'll have like 4 seasons a year, allocated to 4 separate quarters, and therefore I can take a break in between to catch up on everything else that's been happening in the meantime. Also, I did have at one period very lengthy streams, and that would have taken up a lot of time, but with no regrets, because every one of those was really busy and very sociable, and our community had been vibrant, dynamic and active, highly energetic, and it's still here with us today. And it's interesting, when I go back to Destiny 1, I get immediately some other people popping in who've not been on my broadcast for a number of months, because they want to be obviously a part of that activity, and they want to be saying hello and connecting with everybody else. So having too many titles on offer of high quality is certainly of concern, but what Xbox and PlayStation offer today is the streaming services, to which you can literally just try out things immediately. So coming back to that, if we consider, for instance, that on Xbox at present we can't instantly stream, but every game needs to be downloaded, we are going to be having that in a short while, because Xbox xCloud services will enable it, and we already can do that with quite a number of games on Android, which means on tablets and mobile phones. And I'm hoping, and I'm certainly looking forward to have exactly the same sort of thing enabled on consoles, because then I'll be able to skim through many games really quickly if I want to get just a flavor of what they're like. The difficulty at the moment is that every game needs to be downloaded, and that's absolutely the very best thumbs up for anyone who's a streamer, because once you can download a game, you can stream it and you can enjoy it, present it to your community. So that's always the very, very best. Much better than having, just like what PlayStation do, the majority of the games on streaming services, because those are not accessible to anybody else but you, and therefore you can't share those games with your Twitch-based or YouTube-based communities of regular viewers, and that is of a serious concern. And I've written to PlayStation, asked them to reconsider the whole thing, because for the streamers, being able to download and stream is absolutely, pivotal. Because quite frankly, when I've seen Nightcall, I wanted to introduce the game to everyone straight away. I loved it so much. It was just so amazing, and so it's like an archaeological discovery. You go somewhere in order to look for a particular item, but yet you discover something you had never expected, and it's just the best possible reward, like film archaeology, or exploring major libraries when you discover books you never heard of but are wonderful, etc., etc. So it's that sort of experience, and personally, I really applaud Phil Spencer and his team for making every single game instantly accessible. Instantly downloadable, and I look forward to the add-on on console as well, so we can really explore the games with greater speed. It's no big deal with smaller games that occupy anything from 200 megabytes to maybe 2 or 3 gigs, but the problem occurs with the games, the big games of today, 50, 60, 70 gigs plus, and Modern Warfare, for instance, will take more than 250 gigs. So if you want to be quickly exploring some of the add-ons and having a look, just for your own information, so to speak, you will need to leave it on overnight, and it will take quite a while to download, depending on your internet speeds and everything else. So, all of that indeed is slowing down the process somewhat. But nevertheless, if I'm to be choosing between the two, I'd certainly say that Xbox Game Pass is to a degree superior on the technical front, first of all. I've not had any technical problems at all, even the slightest, on that front right from the beginning. And I've been using it very extensively now for quite some time. And what I particularly like is that for the exclusives, such as Gears of War and Fable, and I'm trying to think, all the other ones that Xbox offered over the years, you're also getting the pristine, top-notch Ultimate Edition. So, like for instance with Gears of War, they already upgraded to the 4 to 8K quality graphics if you are to be accessing it on the new Series X. And you get all the add-ons, everything else as it comes in on a particular day straight away, and that all is offered on that monthly subscription price. Really, quite frankly, I can't see that going wrong ever, and I just think that it's the very best possible way of anyone to be exploring and enjoying video games of today. PlayStation Now services also have kind of tailored their library to a degree, and they began with a similar system to what we've seen on Game Pass, but they still left many games on the streaming services only, which I think is a serious kind of thumbs down, and their streaming services do not really perform too well on certain games. You have a major frame rate drop, and you also have games that are seriously lagging, that haven't been really properly adapted for PlayStation 4 or even PlayStation 5 use. So a PS3 game will perform really badly on, not everyone, but quite a number, on PS4 services, and that is of concern. On the other hand, you get on PlayStation Now very many titles, and there are quite a few titles that people are not familiar with, the titles that are not popular here in Western Europe. Very many are the games that are very popular in Japan, the traditional kind of RPG stroke fighting games, and some really absolutely truly wonderful discoveries. So really, it's down to your preference, but for myself, I use the services all the time, love them both, and I think there is a scope for improvement on both fronts. And as I said, with PS Now, it's all about being able to download to your console every single game. For the Game Pass, we want to be able to access every one of the games through the streaming services as well, which means you can. I know there's a monetary reason for that. They wanted every single game to be left there for the downloads, because every download will be obviously counted, will come towards the overall game popularity, and there are many reasons as to why that may be one of the models that they will keep. But nevertheless, if that is made available for every game on, for instance, Android or any other platform, then we'll be able to quickly have a look. And it's the fact, isn't it? If you like the game, you will certainly download it and play it, because once you've got it on your hard drive, you'll perform a lot better compared to what you'll be getting through just purely the streaming services. But you may well hold me to ransom there, because I said that about Netflix a little while back, but the streaming services today are state of the art, and I don't download anything anymore Netflix. I watch everything through the live stream via my consoles, and the picture is just simply gobsmacking. So really, what direction will I take here on my channel? Well, first of all, the most important part of everything we do here is about our community. It's about connecting with others, about being able to make new friends, share our thoughts, views and ideas with those who are sharing the same interest or have same affinities. That is going to be continuing to be the most important thing here in everything I do. It's all about talking, communicating, bonding, creating new friendships, and actually making our own spheres of interest accessible to others who perhaps have not yet discovered them. And it's wonderful when you hear somebody telling you about a particular film you never heard of, and you go and watch it and it turns out to be absolutely phenomenal. Well, this is what we want to do here. We want to talk about the games which are not as well known as Destiny and Warzone. We want to recommend them to everyone, and we want everyone to share our passion for that wonderful online activity. So that is going to be the most important thing of all. That's going to be the bottom line, right? The second thing is going to be sticking to the games that appear to be most popular here on the channel, the games that are giving us the best possible community effort, and that is presently Destiny and Call of Duty Warzone. So these games will continue on everyday basis with a format which I still have to I guess tailor to the interest. I've had on average the streams that were lasting between 4 to 5 hours. 5 hours was the tops for me, because after about 5 hours of gaming and talking and everything else, I feel that I'm no longer in the zone, and that seems to be sufficient per day. So if we're looking at 5 hours per day, I think what I will try to do is to be introducing some other games earlier in my stream and in my broadcast, and then we'll be just always going back to the big ones. So maybe certain days will be Destiny days and other days will be dedicated to Warzone. I have to see. It's been very difficult to combine Destiny and Warzone on the same day, I have to say, and that's been causing me some issues purely, logistically, through the way I think and do things, because if I'm doing Destiny, I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of missing out on my community, which is there in Warzone, and vice versa, and that's not what I want to see. Having an earlier game which is being like a golden oldie reintroduced, or a quirky indie title I've just discovered, will be fine, and then we'll progress to the usual community activities. I think we probably will schedule 3 Destiny sessions or 4 Destiny sessions a week, as well as 3 or 4 based on Warzone, and then the additional content will be based on whatever other games I still want to be playing, exploring and introducing. On top of that, have a daily kind of review, a daily introduction. I've had that initially as daily video gaming news, which in fact, due to the way the broadcasts are done on consoles, didn't really work out on a tech front too well. The algorithms are not picking it up, didn't have many viewers, and it was really causing me lots of hiccups. So I integrated my introduction, i.e. my daily news, daily ramblings, daily thoughts and feelings about everything, I integrated that within my overall broadcast. Well, that's been operating well, but there are 2 issues in there. The issue number 1 is, first of all, the issue number 1 for me is it's hard to find these news if you're looking at the overall broadcast on YouTube and archived, and it's much better if every one of those is dated. So on a particular day we'll have that news broadcast which is lasting maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes or so, short and crisp and telling you all about the world, and then that is delivered in a separate format, which means the broadcast could carry on very shortly later, but this will be given as a separate heading for everyone to see. The other reason for that, I believe, is that many of our friends who are interested in building something that's based on Destiny and Warzone, they're not particularly keen on waiting for so long, and therefore the broadcast is providing them with somewhat, I guess, elusive auspices on what we are to do next, when in fact they're just itching to pull the trigger, so to speak, and we are not going to be pulling the trigger for about an hour. And I've had some emails indicating that people enjoyed listening to me and they really loved the introductions and all that's been said, interactivity with other community members, but they did have a problem with that lengthy waiting period. So I think that will resolve it. So we'll be looking at a selection of shorter broadcasts which are theme based, right? So we'll have many more popping up here on Twitch. You'll see Apex Legends, introduction, seasonal content, this and the other, and we'll have the bigger ones for dedicated to the big games and doing them together with our community. So that is going to be the first section. The other is going to be DRBMiller introduces, right? So that's going to be golden oldies, older games, personal favorites, new discoveries, the games I'm playing at the moment. So these may not have the overall continuity, but they were just like an introduction, and we want to keep it like really dynamic and interesting and exciting for everyone to just pop in, have a look, and have a chat about that particular game. And if it looks exciting and interesting, the community members will ask questions, and that's going to be the first port of call. And then the third section is going to be the usual, which is our big communities of Destiny and Warzone players getting together and doing the things as usual. So that really is the idea. That's the concept. As I said, we'll have regular daily streams and broadcasts. They will be split into separate sections, and that will be significantly different compared to what we had now for maybe 18 months. And but basically it's trial and error, isn't it? We'll try to see how it goes, and we'll have to wait for some responses from our friends as well to see whether it is popular, whether it's attracting interest, whether people are enjoying it. And I think from my point of view, it will make it easier for me to archive everything and, for instance, dig up certain types of thoughts and ideas that I was having, let's say, on the 25th of May of 2020. Theoretically, it's still there, with that Destiny stream on that day, but it's like a smaller broadcast. It's easier to edit, it's easier to do other things. So that's all in the nutshell about the channel and what we are going to be doing. So just to summarize, first of all, maximum team community effort, as many community participants as possible at all times. You have friends and fans and your own community members, please do recommend the channel and the community content and the membership to them, and I'll be always glad to see them. I don't do anything through the remote engines that Twitch offers, like raiding other people's communities and all this. I believe that building a properly connected, well-bonded community from grassroots, basically from the ground up, is always the very best way, because every single person who enjoyed participation will be there forever. Other people who are brought in remotely, they may not be, have all kinds of issues with numbers, and I'm just not keen on that. I believe that the high quality content is based on what we talk about. It's based on our thoughts, it's based on our minds, it's based on our life experience, it's based on what we want to share with others. And it was very interesting to hear, for instance, from our US friends how they were experiencing the pandemic, and it was so different from state to state. And we've had it here live on my channel. People talked about this, and it was absolutely, very, very interesting to hear firsthand, because what people experienced was significantly different to what you get from the medias. And that's always another opportunity that we have here, talking and connecting about current affairs and the current state of play, which can sometimes be also tied into our video gaming activities. So all of that is to be present here. So maximum community effort, maximum connectivity, the broadcasts which are going to be somewhat separately scheduled, theme-based broadcasts within a chunk of about 5 hours per day, and keeping it as diverse, as interesting as possible, as well as keeping the best games, the games that really made this channel, Destiny and Warzone, literally throughout. I'll take a short break, and this was all about my own year and the way I've done the channel, and we re-evaluated all that's been achieved. We also looked at what will be coming to us in the future. I have a break now, about 5 minutes, and after that I'll give you a year in review, and it will tell you all about the games which we consider to be the very best. We'll go through a list of 25, and we'll consider whether these indeed were the very best games. It's very, very hard to select, I think, some of those, because the competition is massive and there are lots of participants out there, as we've seen with the Game Awards and all the other ceremonies. But I think the list is giving us a good picture on what's been happening out there, and it's giving us an opportunity to explore maybe some of those that were missed during the year of 2020. So once I come back, I'll go through the list, we'll talk a bit about every single game, and then decide really for ourselves what game we actually consider to be the very best. So stay with us, I'll be back in 5. I'm back, my friends, and thank you for staying with us and watching and listening to our year in review here on my channel. And just like I said earlier, we already reviewed all that was channel and me related, and we'll be progressing towards our own review of the year of 2020, in which we'll consider all the games and all the releases that came our way. We want to discover some of the titles that perhaps we are not familiar with, maybe some of those we really loved the most, and indeed we were looking at our very favorites. So we have a list of like 25, and I'll start from number 25. But quite frankly, I think we should take the rankings with a pinch of salt. I think all these games are wonderful and highly accomplished in every way imaginable, so we won't be giving every one of them a sufficient amount of attention, and indeed you'll be deciding on which one to play according to your own personal preference. So really, if we're looking at top 25, you'll be able to look at a very large mix of all sorts of games. They include indies, some blockbusters, games that indeed have been combining the easy access to the old generation consoles as well as PS5 and Xbox Series X, and you know, some of the older consoles could still deliver amazing experiences, we know, but we've had quite a selection launched towards the end of the year that were mutually compatible with both. Some worked, some did not. We'll remark on that right at the end. So we kind of spent quite a bit of time looking at the games that made the headlines. Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition. Well, this game didn't make much of headline really on its release, but we know that the developer was Cardboard Computers, released on all platforms, and a text-driven adventure game that's one part road trip mystery and one part surrealist art project. And who really should play this game? Well, Kentucky Route Zero has spent 7 years en route to a destination many of us hoped it would be one day reach. So it's been a lengthy journey, and we've heard that Kentucky Route Zero ushered 2020 in with the release of its 5th and final chapter, and a complete collection encompassing all of its acts and side stories for console. They brought in their journey from 5 Dogwood Drive and then back again to a close. So it is generally a game of the generation that defies classification, and it absolutely will need to be looked at. So we've had from Games Radar this recommendation, and I certainly will have a look at it. I've not really seen it on my setup as yet, but definitely they considered it to be one of the very best. Teardown, Tuxedo Labs game. The format is just on PC access. A first-person heist game where you can play with physics as a one-person demolitions team instead of a stealthy cat burglar. Sounds very interesting. Combines Warzone with Thief by the sounds of it, and I want to see what this game is going to be like. Physics-based destruction is one of those video game features that lives in store page bullet points, while rarely making that much of a difference in how you actually play. So they have their physics simulations. These are very fun to play all by themselves, but the game's brilliance is revealed when you begin your first time heist. So going from just being kind of smash and grab, from smash to smash and grab I should say, grabbing your first objective will start a countdown until the cops arrive, and then making it through fast enough to pick up the rest will require making some modifications to the environment. So then you'll begin a destroy, run, destroy optimization loop that smashes to your spare time without any form of respite. So Teardown, another recommendation from Games Radar. I forgot to mention my rundown on the very best games will be indeed connected to the lists, because Games Radar is one of the very best. hubs for video gaming online, and they have a wonderful team of writers and gamers who really go through every single bit of these industry everyday revelations, and I can really, with full force rely on the quality of the judgment. So that's the idea. Some of the games I played, some I did not, but still, these are the recommendations, and we'll be looking at all of them together. Another game that I played and I really liked, and I find to be perhaps requiring a bit more attention over here in the West, in the UK, is Persona 5 Royale. And this is a PS4 game developed by Atlus. And for anyone who's familiar with the usual Japanese RPGs, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of adventure, there are girls, there are boys, there's good guys, there's bad guys, and a lot of fun to be had. So Persona 5's 2020 re-release bundles in new characters, combat options, locations around Tokyo, and a whole epilogue to make Persona 5 Royale the definite edition of the 2017 JRPG. So the characters we all adored in 2017 are back once again, and they're matched only by the excellent newcomers to the re-release. It's been remastered, so the game gives you eye-popping visuals and a wonderful soundtrack that was indeed very popular into the original game, but the entire experience is a lot smoother, and that is thanks to the 90-hour RPG. I read it wrongly actually. The entire experience is much smoother this time around for the 90-hour RPG thanks to subtle quality of life changes. And there is more to see and do in Persona 5 Royale, and all of our wonderful characters have plenty to do, and they reunite for more adventures, and definitely a game that you all should be revisiting. I had actually some messages coming in recently from people saying, isn't this weird? The game's been released 2 years ago, they're already doing like a remastered version. What's the idea behind that? Well, first of all, the tech is developing so rapidly that if you were to be playing, for instance, give an example, The Last of Us original, that was released about 6-7 years ago, and if you were to be playing it on the remaster, which indeed I did play this year, the difference is incredible. Okay, the game is so much more immersive. The overall quality of the environment is massively enhanced. You really can feel, see and hear every single bit of everything that's happening in that game. You can hear a bird flying, a mosquito landing on your cheek. You can see everyone beautifully, perfectly well in high quality graphics, full tone color, wonderful top-notch 4K resolution. So that's the benefit. And somebody asked me about Gears of War. Wasn't this game released like about a year ago or so? Well, the fact is, if you were to be looking at the enhancements they introduced since then, they're absolutely mouth-watering. In addition to that, with the remastered edition, you're getting a lot of new content. So there could be extra activities, there could be, there could be all sorts depending on the game and the developer. Don't forget. Don't quote me on this, it's not the same for every single game, but certainly for Persona 5 that is the case, and therefore it is very much worth revisiting. The next one, Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Toys for Bob. It is on the consoles, the long overdue successor to the original game, and it's been obviously released, and the question is, who indeed will be interested in Crash Bandicoot? Well, developers Toys and Bob could have just replicated the Greatest Adventures and called it a day, but just went one better. And it's about time takes Crash Coco and a sprinkling of friends and foes past and present. So on top of the usual Crash formula's already solid foundations are lessons learned from some of the other platformers in the past decade. So you have the vibrant environments of Rayman Legends, the kinetic energy of Ori, and also some wonderfully difficult areas of Shovel Knight. So all of these indeed are introduced as novelties to the latest Crash Bandicoot 4, so I think really very, very interesting and definitely worth revisiting. Bugsnax has been really talked about quite a bit through I think think, several PlayStation streams, the presentations earlier in the year, and it is a game developed by Young Horses, accessible on PS4, PS5 and PC. Game similar to Pokemon, and it does have some ingenious methods that will be sort of they'll be used to catch animals and various other beasts out there in the open. So if we look at the surface of it all, this game Bugsnax is looking a bit like a children's game, but you have lots of lovable characters, you have a wonderful island that has plenty of charm, and you just crack on with all the activities. It also has a bit of a darker side, which kind of begins to rise in the story, culminating in a terrific ending that would be similar to Mr. Night Shyamalan films like The Unbreakable and Sixth Sense. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, but certainly I thoroughly enjoyed playing the game, and can certainly tell you that similar to some of the other games that look a bit like games for children, you will find a true adult delight in some of the mysteries that these games have to offer. So bear with me, we'll have a look at a few more games. We've gone through a number already. I do apologise, but this delay has been caused by some technical issues in here. And if you watched Major Nelson's latest broadcast with Jeff Rubinstein the other day, and Jeff said that he had spent most of his year this year playing Yakuza franchise, and he said it's extraordinary because prior to the beginning of the year he barely heard about Yakuza. Well, he did hear about the game, but he never played it. And once he jumped in, he just loved it so much and stayed with it literally throughout the whole year. And Major Nelson cracked some jokes, obviously dedicated to his 1,000 hours plus activity within the game, and it just seems like Yakuza is definitely a game for everyone. I've got to say I played all 3 installments during the free play days here on Xbox, and absolutely loved it. I think visually it's mouth-watering. It's combining various strategies of different types of games I've seen previously, combining very good storytelling with an open world of a massive big city, together with wonderfully created characters, very good, exciting and very connecting plot, which is similar to other Japanese games of the same style. And then most importantly, you have a lot of fighting sequences, so something for everyone within the game. And similar to what you had in Soul Calibur, if you are a lover of fighting, you have plenty of fighting that you can even tweak it and tailor it to your own personal preference. And then you have a lot of that wonderful RPG storytelling as well. And Yakuza has been developed by Ayu Gago Toiko Studio. It's available on all platforms, and it's an RPG that has also a twist on the action saga, tackling crime and corruption the streets of Yokohama and Tokyo. So anybody, newcomer Ichiban Kasuga gives you Yakuza a fantastic facelift, and the studio basically has been giving it a wonderful action formula for an RPG adventure. The combat system is sublime, I can really vouch for that. I really enjoyed it. I'm not really that hot on fighting games, but it does excel because, you know, the controls are easy to use and it's blending in perfectly with the story. So it's not just about fighting, it's all about the story and the way the fighting sequences are well connected with the characters and the overall activity. Always reminds me of musicals. You had musicals that excelled because the songs and the dance sequences were perfectly connected to the story and the characters, compared to the other ones where you know, it was all about the songs and the story was just like a filler album. That tells you really what better musicals they were and what directors excelled compared to others. So basically you have a new combat system, and Kasuga and his allies retaining Yakuza's hectic and hilarious battle mechanics, which, as you will recall, is a turn-based combat. So there's a usual fantastic combination of really heartfelt, funny writing, smart dialogue, and you can find it in every single corner of the game. And Yakuza Like a Dragon is a superb reinvention of the long-running action franchise, a confident step in an exciting new direction. I agree with that. I think it really is providing us with a new pointer, and I certainly enjoyed all of the Yakuzas I played this year. I'm there with Jeff. I think, like Jeff, I've heard of the game, never played it before, and once I jumped in, thoroughly enjoyed all the activities, and most importantly enjoyed the environment, like a massive big open world, together with the story and the ways the characters appear to be, particularly through the design, the interactivity, some of the dialogue, and you know, it's like a really that you'll find some connectivity with Cyberpunk as well if you play. I'm not going to tell you why and where and what, but a big city, really mysterious, and with lots of different weird things happening around every corner. You'll enjoy it. And if you're a subscriber to the Ultimate, you can have easy access to the entire franchise immediately. So, you know, definitely. I actually heard from Spanner today, our dedicated community member, who was providing me some feedback on my Dragon Quest gameplay, and he said it looked very much like Zelda. I said absolutely, it's very similar to that. It's got the same aura and the same in-game mechanics. It is really beautifully designed and delivered, as well as, you know, very immersive with the open world and great story, wonderful characters. Everything is in there. One of the best RPGs ever created, Dragon Quest XI it is. And I said, well, there's no time to waste, because you can get it all for 3 months on the price of $1. You get 3 months for $1. I mean, honestly, it can't be wrong if you are subscribing to the Ultimate. So recommend to everyone to try it, and you absolutely must have a look and see what the Ultimate subscription is all about. Another game they recommended is Demon's Souls, and this has been indeed one of the most popular games on PlayStation 5. It's a brand new release. I've not had a chance to play it, but it did look really absolutely amazing on Twitch streams and gameplay I've seen so far on the internet. Blue Point developer, and they have the game, as I said, it's performing on PlayStation 5. So the original challenge from Software's first Souls game remastered for a new generation. This is actually the perfect entry into the world of From Software. The first game in the Souls series. It's a simple exploration of what the games would become. Challenging but more approachable, with a smaller, more linear approach to progression. It's a bit less difficult. And you get this item from here, so get there, getting a tool to access literally everything. The famous difficulty of the series comes from not understanding that, and as the games got more complicated and ambitious, it became harder to see those paths. So the Games Radar guys said all the original code is still running under the fancy visuals. It's fascinating to see how well the Origins design was holding up 11 years later. And definitely for anyone who's a dedicated fan of Dark Souls, I think you'll find Demon's Souls to be truly delightful, so most highly recommended. Ooblets! Glumberland developer, and format is basically on all platforms. Farm stimulating, creature collecting, dance battling injection of serotonin that's got style in spades. And they're recommending it because everybody needs a mental break. Ooblets, like many of 2020 games, provides, except Ooblets, provides that much needed mental break in a completely unique way. So Wooblets feel familiar like Animal Crossing New Horizons, tasks you with farming, and like Pokemon, it tasks you with battling. So it sounds very, very good. Number 17, Valorant. Well, Valorant is a PC game and a very, very popular one. So I'm sure you would have seen and heard all about it. And whatever you like to take the initiative and push for one-on-one gunfights, or if you prefer throwing down smokes and playing strategically, you perhaps like to hang back and heal your team before following them into the fray, well, Valorant is going to be absolutely your best friend. And it's probably the best PC FPS game that we've seen in a long, long while, and also likely to be attracting people who are dedicated fans, veterans, and gamers of League of Legends. So Valorant, definitely a very, very high quality game. I played a bit of Valorant on my PC, and certainly can tell you, for anyone who's a streamer, this FPS is a true delight. Genshin Impact. So that again is accessible on all platforms, and it's a series of compound objectives, free-to-play open-world third-person action RPG. And the reviewer in there was playing more than 100 hours into Genshin Impact, and I certainly most highly recommend it too. I watched some of the trailers and some of the gameplay. Yet again, like all the other Japanese, JRPG games, it has everything from good story through fantastic animation and graphics to very funny dialogue and all the funny fighting sequences as well. So Genshin Impact, absolutely most highly recommended. The game that everybody anticipated for a long while, and indeed it was a remake of one of the most popular games of all times, was Final Fantasy VII, and it absolutely and fully delivered. It's a true masterpiece in every shape and form. It's incredible that they were able to rework the original game that was so popular and so original, with such a degree of expertise, without actually losing anything. And it basically is probably the best game that Square Enix had ever produced. It's accessible presently on PlayStation 4, and as you know, some of those indeed have been accessible on specific platforms over the years. And that's basically is a remake of the 1997 classic, and bringing back a much loved classic to modern audiences. So Square Enix more than succeeded. They recrafted all the environments, the characters are as lovable as always, and with the return of Final Fantasy VII's cast of classic characters, you're also given this opportunity to see them in new lights, to see them better, and just generally the game is brought to the present day and age with everything else that the old one had. So an absolute chart topper. It is a must for every single Square Enix Final Fantasy collector. A quirky indie game that I find also very much of interest is called If Found. Dreamfeel is the developer. It's accessible on Switch, on PC, on iOS, and it is a wonderfully written interactive story that follows the struggles of Cassia as she returns home to Ireland in the 90s. So you have this really wonderful story, which is also connected to some of the most contemporary issues. It has its LGBTQ representation, unique art style, and beautiful soundtrack. So similar to Nightcall, it is a game that you will simply accidentally discover once you go through the list, and you definitely want to be playing it because it is going to be a true Christmas delight. One of the most popular, most highly acclaimed games of the year, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. And it's a remake of some of the best skateboarding games. You will be familiar with the series. I can certainly tell you that the graphics, the interactivity, the gameplay, and the overall social community effort which this game has attached to its existence is simply second to none. So you absolutely do want to try it and get in as quickly as possible. Half-Life Alyx is a virtual reality game in the Half-Life series, the best reason to get a headset of your own. It is a PC game, and similar to the old Half-Life series, it is taking place in the same sort of environment. And I'm not tried it on virtual reality. I'm very curious to see basically what it's like. And they said that it's not like Half-Life 3, and with its conspicuous lack of that crowbar-wielding protagonist, it does really come across as a different type of game, because this is a new game made from the ground up to justify your purchase of a virtual reality set. And they said that it's one of the very best games if you want to be experiencing Oculus in full. So basically, it sounds like they've really excelled with the quantity of content. And I think what's most important, if you're entering that virtual reality environment, is how immersive, how inviting, how deadly frightening, horrifying, or indeed unappealing to the degree that open world is going to be for you. It will be very appealing if you are a fan of survival horror games, very unappealing if you like playing the funny old RPGs that have no threats posed to you at any given moment in time. So most highly recommended. Cyberpunk 2077, another game that came out towards the end of the year, accessible on PCs and consoles, an open world sci-fi GTA from the people that brought The Witcher, and the game apparently is amazing. And I certainly can say I looked at the test runs, I looked at the open world, at the developer diaries, and I just absolutely became in awe of everything presented. But the game is not performing on the tech side of things. It's lagging, and it's causing serious problems to everyone who is on PlayStation and Xbox, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, the older generation consoles. And we're still waiting for that to be fully resolved before we really jump in full. But I certainly can tell you, for anyone who is a gamer who likes exploring excuse me. I apologize. I don't know what's happening with my voice. Anybody who is interested in exploring the open world, who likes the idea of that night city, people who like changing costumes, people who like redesigning the environment, well, this is going to be literally your personal favorite. You could choose 3 separate types of environments that can be applied, so it ensures literally 3 separate gameplays in there for everyone who is in awe of cyberpunk. And I find that really quite remarkable. The designs are really second to none, and you will be able to choose your own costumes and customize your characters to basically the minute detail. But if you want to be enjoying everything in full, then you will have to be waiting for a little while for all the tech issues to be resolved, if indeed you are still to be doing them on the old gen consoles. I think Cyberpunk 2077 at the moment works very well on PCs, so if you are to be choosing between the 3 platforms, buying it on your PC will be the very best bet. I have to say that certainly for myself, Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the games that I've been hotly anticipating over probably a period of about 6 or 7 years, considering all that we've seen really come away from the developer. And so far I've not been disappointed, but really considering I've done lots of alphas and betas and experienced lots of different issues on several games that included Modern Warfare and Cold War and Anthem, to mention just a few, then you'd appreciate it. It is of concern to me. Still have some technical issues in here for some reason, don't know why, don't know what's causing this, I do apologize. And I want to get to the bottom of the list. apologise. There's absolutely nothing I can do. I don't know what's causing it. Just can't get to the information thanks to, you know, the wonderful world of internet connectivity. No, it just doesn't want to provide me with the information. Look at this, it's ridiculous. Nope, I need to go back and back. I do apologise. There's nothing I can do. My hands are tied in full and I need to be just patient, just like everyone else. Let's see if it is going to be working. And guess what? It actually did work. Astra's Playroom is another game. It is a PS5 game delivered by Sobi team. And the showcase for this new features of PS5 pre-installed with every console. And apparently it is very, very popular so far. So we entered Astra's Playroom expecting a fun but forgettable tech demo for the PS5, but actually it was the other way around. It's cleverly designed and it has this sort of wonderful tour through the internal architecture of the new system, somehow mining genuine entertainment and showcasing the hardware specs. So that's really pretty good, you know, when you're getting a freebie that's going to be literally allowing you to be exploring the new console, and I certainly find that to be very, very ingenious. Astra's platform has made Team Sobi the first party platforming studio to watch as we head into the next generation of Sony exclusives. You probably heard Xbox confirmed that they will be not looking at any form of exclusives in the future, and they'll kind of divorce from the concept. They consider it to be old-fashioned and outdated, but PlayStation are still sticking to it. They'll keep the idea through which everybody who wants to play a particular game, notably Detroit, God of War, Horizon, just to name a few, will have to be purchasing them on that particular platform. Personally, I think the idea is worth it, but with the new gen instant access on all platforms, it may well be affecting the overall Sony's turnover. But you know, people who want to play Horizon, they'll buy a new console and they'll buy obviously the new installment in order to complete. So that's probably the way it is going to be. The platforms are there to stay, don't forget, and we've heard yesterday from Phil Spencer that some people in fact are not even accessing any games on the consoles if they're away from the desk or elsewhere, and they've seen quite an extensive increase of the activity on xCloud, and most of that was completed on their phones. These activities are, I would say from my personal experience, tied to the platformers. Platformers perform the best on xCloud at the moment, and somebody wants to subscribe, they can subscribe. They don't have to have the Xbox, I believe. So there is certainly going to be easily accessible for xCloud, and I think the future of gaming is definitely going down the route of cross-platform gaming. Doom Eternal, number 9. Developer is ID Software. Format is PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So it's a direct sequel to 2016's Doom, and it features Doom Slayer fighting back against the hordes of hell after they invade Earth. So anybody who's played Doom for years will be absolutely and truly delighted. It's one of the best FPS shooters, which is absolutely relentless, very colourful, and very exciting. High octane types of fights, particularly if you're doing them together with your mates. Definitely most highly recommended. And I think the major change was a large emphasis on juggling your resources while everything is trying to destroy you. So you will have your main character, Doom Slayer, and he'll be striding and sauntering on each battleground with typical ID prisoners. So players must think on their feet to ensure that they have enough gear and kit and everything on them. And I think just one of the very best shooters that we would have seen in quite a few years. Fall Guys is the other. Mediatonic, PS4 and PC accessible. Part Battle Royale, part game show. So this is online multiplayer, and it's a platformer. It's tasking you with being the last one standing by surviving its hilarious mini-games. Sounds like a nice sort of game as well. Now we are coming to the biggie, Call of Duty Warzone. One of the biggest, the most successful games that we have been streaming in here. The game we've had certainly during the last quarter of the year here in abundance, with a new community arising, with a new regiment forming, our regular members participating. I can see that our regular member Hunter is watching the stream and indeed communicating. I apologize for not being able to respond to you immediately, but you'll appreciate with my podcast the focus is actually on delivering the article or delivering the major theme in full before we engage with our community or respond to the views. Very, very good to see you. Happy New Year to you, sir. Hopefully you're well, healthy, safe and well. And let me see what our friend says. Oh, hello, Mr. Miller. Haven't seen you for the whole year. Right. Or I should say, I'm being unfair. Hunter said, I haven't seen you since last year. And Hunter's also saying a few things about Cyberpunk. We have to be careful with Cyberpunk because it has a lot of technical issues. It'll get better soon, but it's almost unplayable. Absolutely, Hunter, that's exactly what I re-emphasized. I had recommended the game for its wonderful, wonderful open world immersive quality of the Night City, lovable characters, wonderful designs, replayability and all of the things, but warned everyone in the same way as I warned them on Anthem, which I personally tested as well, played alphas and betas and VIP demos and all sorts, that the game, like Anthem, had been released prematurely, which means not ready for the overall consumer consumption and therefore suffering tremendously, also suffering in particular on all gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One. The game's unplayable on these, and PlayStation discontinued with the game on PlayStation Store for that reason alone, as well as they provided lots of refunds. So therefore I recommended everyone who wants to be playing Cyberpunk to be purchasing on a PC, and PC version is operating properly. There have been some issues, but resolved so far by various patches, and I think if we want to be spared from all of those hair-raising issues that everyone else was having on the old-gen consoles, then buying it on a PC platform will be by far the best. Call of Duty Warzone, we played it here in abundance. It's been seen as the major game here on my channel during the last quarter of the year. We created our new regiment, we built our new community, we've had plenty of fantastically exciting, funny, racy, high-octane types of matches, and we'll carry on in the new year as well once the broadcasting resumes. And you will know that the developer is Infinity Ward, and format is Xbox Series X, PS5, Xbox One, PS4 and PC, cross-platform in full, and we thoroughly enjoyed the cross-platform access right from the beginning. I mentioned it earlier in relation to Destiny. Cross-platform from such games is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it will bring in lots of hot PC veterans who are having some advantage with the keyboards and the use of the mouse, and basically with aiming and precision shots, etc., they will be to a degree superior. On the other hand, it is a wonderful tool in order to enhance the community, because you will get everybody coming in from every platform, and therefore the community grows. So a tip for anyone who wants to participate: make sure that within your team you have at least 1 or 2 PC players, as well as the other ones on consoles, and then it will work really well. If you are in our regiment, you will know that teamwork, buybacks and comms work the best, which means the PC players, if they're surviving the longest I should say, they'll always buy us back and they'll do most wanted, and we'll all come back to life later on, if we are fortunate enough, obviously, with the last survivor. And we have, I'll give you just a bit of a rundown on the game. It's a 100-player free-to-play battle royale set in the Call of Duty universe. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, and you don't have to buy anything in order to advance in the game. Longer you play, better it will be, with unlockable loot and weaponry and all sorts. And most importantly, it is a game similar to Destiny that's got to be played together with your permanent team, with a four-man crew that's going to be rocking it out there in Verdansk. And it is a game that really, if delivered properly in a family-friendly format, will bring in lots of new people to your community. So Call of Duty came into the Battle Royale very late, and they were seriously and slowly considering on how to basically formulate it, but they spent a lot of time taking notes, dropping in with the best features of all the grades that came before it. And if you've got vehicles, a fairly extensive ping system, an overwhelming abundance of weapons, and a chance to return from the dead by winning 1 versus 1 gulag face-off. So that's really, they picked up the best elements of all other PvP Battle Royale games and then turned it into something completely new and very original. I mean, I played all the other games as well extensively during the last few years, and I certainly can say that Warzone by far excels and is certainly superior to all the other ones on every level, from the graphics to the design, through interactivity, the social community elements, networking, bonding with others, as well as everything else which is delivered through in-game mechanics. So absolutely top-notch, most highly recommended. And I think certainly on my channel, what I particularly liked was that our crew and our group of people has been absolutely family-friendly. So we were delivering an 18+ game, which is a mature game, for adults, and for I'd say youngsters 16+, in a very family-friendly format, which meant what we said, what we talked about, and what we promoted and presented was easily accessible to every single person who was watching. And I've got to say that I probably had more playback views on Warzone through various platforms than on any other stream I've done so far, which was to my delight. On the other hand, it's not surprising, considering that Warzone is the most popular PvP game on the planet at the moment, similar to what we've had with Fortnite and PUBG a little while back. So all of this is wrapped up in the often hyper-realistic environment of Call of Duty. So the learning curve is quite steep, but it is definitely worthwhile considering what your mates are doing. You need to learn from others what to do. You need to have your comms on. You need to be always buying people back. You need to work within a properly formed team. That's the solution. That's the recipe for success in Warzone. Otherwise, it's just instant death. If you're doing a lone wolf effort, if you want to be doing other things in there which are not based on team effort, just forget it. It's not going to be worth it. Number 6, the game I absolutely adore and I want to spend more time in playing, is Ghost of Tsushima. I'm a huge fan of Akira Kurosawa films, and anything to do with the ancient medieval Japan samurai films, absolutely top notch. It's really my kind of niche. And having all of the best features of Kurosawa's, Mizoguchi's, and all the other guys' films from that period, all comprised and combined within one game, is a revelation. And to be honest with you, I was able to play some pre-release demos and gameplay at the European Infogamer, which was delivered in Zagreb, I think it was 2 years ago now. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just so incredible, where you really play the character, you walk through all these huts and samurai battles, and you kind of felt really absolutely perfectly ingrained within that samurai code of ethics, and it was just the best possible. And it is accessible on PlayStation 4. It is obviously one of those so-called exclusives. Sucker Punch is the developer, and they absolutely and truly excelled with the game. It's the best game they produced so far, and we can say that it's an open world action adventure game that follows samurai Jin Sakai through the Mongol invasion of Japan. So the question is, who should be actually playing this game? Well, everyone, first of all, but Ghost of Tsushima is a perfect open world game to cap off the PS4, and I think they are likely to be releasing a remastered version for PS5, which is going to have 8K capability, so that will be terrific. And Ghost of Tsushima cemented Sucker Punch as a PlayStation powerhouse, and the Sly Cooper studio has grown into an open world savant, and Ghost of Tsushima combines the best parts of the studio's infamous series with the teachings of modern games to create an unmissable saga that was somehow improved with the addition of fantastical multiplayer. Absolutely agree. Everything is in that game, and even if you're not a fan of samurai games or the games that have that sort of medieval Japan aura, you will love this one. And after you play Ghost of Tsushima, I assure you, you will also want to be entering the world of Yakuza. So there is something very appealing about both of these games. For me, even if I hated all the activities, even just the visuals are mouth-watering. And if you watch them on like my 60-inch screen in here, it's just absolutely terrific. And you will get to love the characters. You will soak up that open world. You will want to be excelling in everything that those games have to offer. So remember, my personal favorite of this year, one of the personal favorites I should say, is Ghost of Tsushima. Warzone is a fantastic game, it's a battle royale game, but Ghost of Tsushima is a much more complex world, it's just absolutely incredible. Animal Crossing, you've heard all about it. I've not played much of it, I have to admit, and it is a game on Nintendo Switch, but I did see lots of my friends who were streamers and Twitch cosplayers and people who kind of like building the aura of a particular character. They really loved it. I thought it was just, one of the best games ever created. And you have to escape to a deserted island with Nintendo's Life Simulator when you build your own little paradise, and you will fill it with your adorable animal villagers. Well, I'm playing at the moment Dragon Quest XI, which is, I guess, aligned in spirit with Animal Crossing. But it's got Animal Crossing? Yeah, sorry about that. I just, there's too many games, and sometimes my brain just suffers like a block. And evidently I know that it's Animal Crossing, but And so Animal Crossing New Horizons arrived at the perfect time, but facing a worldwide pandemic with countrywide lockdowns, and a lot of people had embraced the game in order to have it as a lifeline for people and communities like no other, sprung from nothing, and it really is one of those games that will bring in so many different people together. If you watch on Twitch, you go to any of the bigger streamers, you have loads of people popping in and throwing in funny comments, and it's a kind of a game that provides you with the aura of good life, something really positive, radiating goodness, nobility, joy in social activity. I guess quite different to what we have in Warzone, which in fact, Warzone gives us a very unpleasant war-torn environment. But what's important in Warzone, you're getting the survival instinct, the fact that by bonding, doing the team effort, doing the buybacks, doing the comms, you're actually surviving the peril, you're surviving the enemy, you're surviving all that's happening out there. And Animal Crossing is the other way. It's a game that's giving you a lot of radiation of hope and goodness and positivity for many days and years to come. Another of my favorites, yet again on PlayStation 5, on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 now, is Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think the vast majority of you would have played the original Spider-Man game, which was the best that I would have, one of the best games that PlayStation ever had. It's very unfair to say this is the best game. There isn't actually such the best game. There's always like at least 10, 15, 20 or 30 of the very best. And Spider-Man and Miles Morales definitely come into that category. Produced by Insomnia Games, a very well-known developer, and it's accessible now on PS4 and PS5, and it's basically a trimmed-down standalone Spider-Man game, starting the objectively best Spider-Man, and it is being set in a wonderful Harlem Christmas, and you do pretty much the same to what you would have experienced in the original Spider-Man in a different environment with lots of different activities. Fantastically beautiful immersive graphics, I've got to say. I mean, on the visual front, this is one of the best games that I've ever seen, and you can just wander through loud, colourful and celebrating streets, and that's just the dream that we can only live virtually in the course of this year, and then you will obviously play him during the Christmas period, and you would just love it all. So for me, yet another thumbs up, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Then we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I played the game a bit, but not to the degree to which I could say, well, this is what my view overall is. And I can tell you that everyone else who's been spending a few hundred hours on Valhalla, did tell me that the game was absolutely mouth-watering in every way you can imagine. Obviously, for us in Britain, this is a game about history of our country, and it sort of explores the invasions that we suffered many centuries ago, with various English knights and kings fighting the invasion, with the Norwegians and the Vikings coming from the north. And from everything seen, it is just simply a game that everybody needs to have accessible on consoles and also on PCs. And we are going back to Britain during the Dark Ages as a Viking warrior. And they're sort of saying that what if Assassin's Creed, but with slightly less assassinating and a ton of more access? Well, that's basically what it did. And they feel that there is still plenty of lore to be had for the long-term fans, but at its core it is a huge, immersive and atmospheric world full of people to meet, mysteries to solve and big decisions to make. And certainly that is exactly how it comes across. And some of the battles in there are very, very violent, but on the other hand you will be able to go through the list of all of those knights and noblemen and kings and all that is connected to our history, and you'll be able to first of all learn a lot more about it. And I certainly think that's similar to what we had in Odyssey. They'll inject a section in which you'll be able to walk through certain areas and then learn all about the history of the country. The add-on, the DLC, that turned out to be the most popular in Odyssey, and it even became used for educational purposes in Greek schools, because people can learn as they play the game all about their own kind of ancient Greece history. So that's really truly wonderful. Hope to see some of that in Valhalla in due course as well. Don't forget, the game's just come out. It's been released on the new console, and we are really looking forward to see all that is to follow. So the other two games in here that we have are Hades, which is a PC game, and I know that anyone who is a great fan of PC gaming would have gone for that game. And developed by Supergiant Games, a roguelike that delivered innovative solutions to long-standing issues with the genre. It is a triumph for storytelling, pacing and challenging action. So let me see. Hades provided us with a small window to another world. In Zagreus we take control of a character who longs to escape a mission that he can complete, should we have the determination to see it through until the end. So some people may find that some of the activities are a bit repetitive, but still Hades is able to smooth out the frustrations inherent to the genre with ease. As its structure becomes familiar, the sense of purpose it presents is very, very palpable. No game should have to shoulder the responsibility of mitigating the chaos wrought by 2020, but certainly Hades indeed provided it with ease. So they've gone for that one, and I'll tell you for myself, the most remarkable game of this year, and I think everyone will agree with me on that point, is The Last of Us 2. The game that literally just swiped up all the rewards at the Game Awards of Jeff Keighley's earlier last year. And we know that Naughty Dog spent a long time in development. They really wanted to make a remarkable not a sequel, an add-on really to the original game, with brilliant characters and impeccable storytelling, as well as the environments that will be reminiscent of that deadly environment of zombies witnessed in the previous game. And they really absolutely excel. It's been released on PlayStation 4. It is the sequel to one of the most critically acclaimed games of all times, and set in a post-apocalyptic America ravaged by a deadly pandemic. So well, we could certainly say that considering that the world out there in the game is suffering from a deadly pandemic, maybe this was not the very best year for its release, but you know, who on earth could predict this? And certainly the fact that so many find comfort and connection in its unapologetically bleak narrative during the bleakest of times is a testament to Naughty Dog's talent at conjuring humanism from a seemingly hopeless landscape. The studio survival horror sequel is a more complicated, multifaceted beast than its predecessor, and it is far more daring in its vision and handling of the interactive format. Storytelling aside, The Last of Us 2 is also Naughty Dog's most sophisticated title yet, very fluid in motion, gorgeous from any angle, not to mention a radical step forward for accessibility in blockbuster gaming. Might be traumatic, uncompromising and downright hostile to your sense at times, but you owe it to yourself to play The Last of Us 2, and there isn't any other game that is, in fact, as big as this one. Well, I can certainly tell you, for myself, The Last of Us 2 together with the original is truly remarkable, and it's very important you play it on a very, very good setup, that you can witness and watch everything on television set and your headset or your speakers that will provide you with that degree of sensitivity, because the environment of that world is very, very deadly, and you will rely on your sight, on your sound, on your motion, on all the other factors which are very much present in there. And I most highly recommend everyone to try it. If you are a subscriber to PlayStation Plus services, then you would have been given a few months back The Last of Us 1 Remastered Edition for free, and that's exactly what I acquired a little while back and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just can't really stress how much better the remastered version actually looks compared to the original. And it isn't just the visuals, it's the sound that makes you feel really jump at all times, particularly if you're listening to it on a very, very loud volume. The Last of Us 2 is also daring in terms of how the characters are portrayed. You have a relationship between two of the lead characters in there, which is evolving. You have her relationship with her protector, and overall you will have many, many great hours spent on the basic storyline. And indeed, if you want to replay, you can increase difficulty levels and enjoy it all. The fact is, PlayStation exclusives are very much based on immersive storytelling. And as we've seen with Horizon, we'll be getting the sequel, I think, in the course of this year, very hotly anticipated as well. Then with God of War, then with Detroit, then with The Last of Us, the Uncharted, just to name a few. These are the games that will attract people who kind of love being told wonderful stories. And it's down to yourself to build those characters around your personal preference and enjoy everything that their worlds have to offer. My dear friends, this was a rundown on the most significant games. I think Games Radar had omitted Destiny 2 Beyond Light from the list because this is not a new game. This is just a DLC to the existing Destiny world out there. But I certainly would like to pay tribute to Bungie, not just for their wonderful production of the new DLC Beyond Light, but also for remarkable efforts that they have produced in terms of charitable fundraising. They had been running several campaigns to which a very large revenue was accrued and generated, and that revenue went to children's hospitals in the US. So absolutely applaud to Bungie and their staff and development team who were producing a wonderful, wonderful new addition to our Destiny universe, together with charitable activities, providing this much needed capital at these times where we are suffering from the global pandemic. So thank you, Bungie, for offering it to us and to the children in those hospitals. And I just want to remark also on the playability as well as the beauty of Beyond Light. They produced the new map of a planet called Europa, which is by far the biggest so far seen in Destiny universe. And we really are getting a very, very clear picture on what Destiny will do and what the next steps really are. First of all, we know that the map is massive, so there's lots of different activities for us to complete. We can play it for days, weeks and months ahead. Secondly, we know that the new DLC is bringing in more of a storytelling RPG type of narrative to the game, as well as the overall Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 full integration. We've been given some new maps. The maps of Moon and Cosmodrome had been fully integrated integrated. As you know, that the moon would have come in with the previous year's DLC called Shadowkeep, and Cosmodrome came in together with Beyond Light. And I really personally look forward to that full integration as well as its cross-platform access. I think we really want to see the creed that Bungie had from the beginning fully materialize, and that is having one big Destiny universe. And just think about it: if they succeed with Destiny universe, with everything being brought into the same arena, would it not be wonderful if they, after that, reworked Halo, so we would have Halo in the same type of environment? Because don't forget, it has been observed that the older games and the games that had been very, very popular over the decades not just have a very lengthy shelf life, but they have the younger generation of gamers who want to be bonding and engaging with the content, but within the latest 4K stroke 8K next gen graphics environment as well. So that, I think, needs to be the focal point for some of the developers, and why not make another wonderful big universe similar to the one we have in Destiny. We've seen with Resident Evil, with Final Fantasy, some of the major titles of all times, that once properly reworked and remade, they will have exactly the same quality, yet within a very different, very modern type of environment delivered to the younger generation of viewers and gamers. And that is absolutely truly remarkable. So I applaud to all of those developers for doing so. Coming back to Destiny, cross-platform and full Destiny integration is the next step. So I really look forward to that. Commend Bungie on the quality that Beyond Light delivered. Some people complained about the elements of repetitiveness in the Dawning season and what we've seen recently, but I just think loads of these comments and views are completely unrealistic. All these studios are operating from home. They are stranded just like the rest of us, with the overall collateral of this absolutely ghastly pandemic that we are suffering from still. And people need to be a bit more understanding. The fact is that evidently the Dawning is a seasonal content that is delivered every single year. It's very similar. You will have new people joining the community, people who not played it last year, and for them it is going to be equally good. So, why on earth do you need to criticize all of that? You'll have plenty to do elsewhere in Destiny with other activities. You can, most importantly, squad up and team up with your friends and do some raids, do some strikes, maybe look for some other add-ons on your pinnacle weapons, maybe collect some mods. There's going to be always plenty to do. And I think Destiny is a game that you can play over several decades. And you can be sharing your knowledge, experience, and overall views with the new generations of gamers as they come in. So, literally, if there's something for me to take away from the year in the world of video gaming, it will be purely to do with the excellence of some of those development studios, and also with the overall quality and sheer number of phenomenally well-presented titles that would have come our way in this rather tarnished year of 2020. I look forward to many other titles. I look forward to all that is to follow. I'm very excited about the new patches for Cyberpunk. I'm excited about Valhalla being developed with seasonal content. I really look forward towards the sequel of Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon 2 is going to be coming our way soon, and all the other wonderful discoveries, all the other products and new games which are still currently evolving. I applaud everyone who's been participating in such activity. I think video gaming, and particularly the world of streaming as well as social networking here on Twitch and YouTube, had brought so much light, so much joy, entertainment, and happiness to so many people around the world. We made so many new friends. So albeit fully socially isolated like myself 22 hours a day, I never felt isolated here in my own environment, because all of those new friends were popping in and we had a lot of fun together. So, the overall experience of video gaming in 2020 had, first of all, opened up new horizons of ideas on how people can be interacting. So that's very, very important. Secondly, we've seen that the whole gaming industry accelerated. The shortcut was provided by necessity, and we did hear from Phil Spencer and the other leaders in the industry, that they will try to capitalize on all fronts really to do with that, and that will be first of all by providing many more games to streaming services, which will make it easily accessible to everyone on a very, very low cost. Secondly, they will want to integrate the communication platforms, so that platforms like Discord, WhatsApp could be fully integrated within the actual in-gaming activity, and or maybe some new ones. I think Xbox will be looking at a new streaming platform, because presently they don't have anything which is exclusive to them. And I have to say that the Twitch apps do not perform too well on Xbox either. So, we are looking forward to that. And then they'll be looking also at the excellence of small studios who are producing wonderful indie games, and them also being brought to the streaming platforms such as Game Pass and PlayStation Now. So, all of these things are truly wonderful. This has been a truly difficult, very, very disturbing year for us all. And if there is something to take away from it, is certainly our awareness of the difficulties, and primarily our need to be as flexible as possible in order to adapt. Most importantly, in order to survive, we need to abide by the rules. We need to be keeping up with social distancing. We must make sure that we are not the ones who is spreading the virus, even if we are not being affected by it. And most importantly, that we use all the resources we have online in order to provide something very, very noble and good. That means us connecting with others, us making bonds with existing, new and forthcoming community members, making new friends, making new friendships, making new connections worldwide with those people who are sharing the same interest, and equally very important to be fully aware of charitable causes, the fact that we do need to be providing something good for those who are in the need, so that we can be running various charitable fundraising campaigns here live on Twitch and YouTube, and then accrue revenue, generate charitable funds that will be used appropriately for those who absolutely are in the need of them. So keep all of these things in mind. It's been a lengthy, very difficult, never-ending, a very, very painful year for us all, the year of 2020. We stepped into the new one of 2021 with a lot of energy, with great resilience and hope that the vaccine is going to provide all of us with some degree of respite, and we just have to be braced up for whatever comes our way. Make sure you spend your time thinking of those people who are in the need. We've had plenty to eat and plenty to drink during Christmas and New Year, but unfortunately there are lots of people out there who were not having the same privileges. There are people who are homeless, people who have lost their businesses and livelihoods. I said earlier in my broadcast, I've seen 24 shops closing during the last couple of weeks here in my local area. These are 24 livelihoods lost, and those people will have a serious difficulty in surviving really as the months go by. They will have a lot of difficulty with all sorts, without me actually specifying, be it financial, emotional or any other, and we want to really be prepared for whatever is to follow in order to help others, to make sure that people who are losing their homes or indeed suffering from serious debt due to the collapse of the businesses that is linked to the pandemic, we want all of them to be involved in some sort of activity that will provide them with a degree of respite. Us joining forces that provide charitable runs here in order to raise revenue for those who need the revenue the most. So these are some of my own personal thoughts. Hopefully they will provide you with some new ideas and spell out certain directions for everyone to take in the year that is to follow. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I have some messages here from Hunter. I apologize I wasn't able to read this out. And Hunter was saying, if you'd like to have the game which could be kind of thrown in your face, we know how, then play a military simulation game called Escape from Tarkov. In fact, I have heard of this game and not played it, so thank you for letting me know. And this is indeed a game that will require a maximum team effort, and a team effort from people who are fully involved, people who are part of your community, and then I guess similar to what we had in Destiny 1, we'll be able to learn as we go along. And Hunter says it's all about the atmosphere. If you're in a happy atmosphere fighting for survival, then it doesn't make really sense. Hunter was remarking on some of my comments that were connected to the games like The Last of Us 2, and indeed I agree. I think it's very important that the environment is blending in with the original theme, so you will not expect the environment of The Last of Us 2 in Animal Crossing or vice versa, and therefore we have so many games out there that are tailored to our personal preferences and tastes, and therefore we can just choose accordingly. So thank you all for watching, thank you all for supporting my channel, thank you for being a valued member of our DRBMiller Gaming Dialogue community. The community is vibrant, energetic and growing. We're getting new followers, viewers and community members every single day, thanks to our wonderful online video games that are connecting us with everyone worldwide. I really want to thank, well, first of all I want to provide you with my heartfelt thanks, and that is directed at everyone who participated here live online together with me, providing us with a wonderful high quality content, terrific community-based chatting experience, as well as a lot of entertainment for everyone to enjoy. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have contributed here on my channel. I look forward to future contributions and future participation from the existing and new community members. I'm certain that as we progress down the route of easy access, instant access, as well as the one called cross-platform here in Destiny, as well as other games, our communities will be massively ascending with many more friends, fans and conversationists, as well as everybody else who we want to see here. So let's just hope that this year will be providing us with positivity, with faith, with good health, with survival, and with everything that we actually wish to have, everything that is necessary for our everyday existence. From, first of all, good health. Secondly, we hope that the vaccine that's been distributed from the beginning of December here in our country will bring a huge respite to people who are in the in the groups of most vulnerable. We want the vaccine to provide the respite to every single citizen of the earth, and we certainly look forward to many other joyous, entertaining, sociable activities here online, both on Twitch, YouTube and here on my channel. So once again, I wish you all a very happy new year. Hope it will find you in good health and entertained and full of happiness and joy, albeit this may be a bit difficult in view of all that's been happening of late. But if we remain positive, if we remain forward-thinking, if we remain energetic for all that is to follow, I'm certain, just like at any other stage in history, we the humans will succeed. So once again, Happy New Year to you all, and we shall see you in the new year with another season of the broadcast here on my channel. They will comprise Destiny Universe, together with Call of Duty Warzone and many other wonderful games as offered on the streaming services. Thank you. On that note, I will wish you all a very